everyone to Coffee and EVs, July 30th. We've got a few folks here. I know we got a lot of folks on vacation and traveling, and some folks said they would catch it on YouTube. So we'll jump in. We got about a half hour. So starting up with Rick's comment just a moment ago, we've got our first all-electric police fleet in South Pasadena, which is pretty cool. Let me share my screen window here. There it is. Yep, so they put in charging infrastructure and replaced all of their combustion-powered patrol cars all at one time with Model Ys. So that's pretty cool. And then they used the an upfitter called Upfit, which is part of the, was it Unlimited Performance, I think? UP is their initials. I know they do Tesla performance add-ons, but they also have gotten involved in the aftermarket industry for upfitting police vehicles. So it's got all the things you would expect, the lights and sirens and radios and the interior stuff for a police vehicle.
Do you know if they put in fast DC charging?
The shots that I had looked like level 2, but they had a couple shots at a supercharger, but I didn't think the supercharger was at the station. They weren't clear on that. But I think they're just AC charging. Yeah, there you go. It looks like a charge point type charger. Yeah. I think they're just the AC charging. I think they're all long range models. So they're probably just high powered level 2, like 48 amp level 2s. And they touted some statistics about how much they thought they would save per vehicle per year based on fuel and maintenance versus an ICE vehicle, which we're all familiar with that.
Well, there it says they put in 34 charge connections. Wow.
Yeah. And Southern California was apparently very helpful to them.
On the video that they posted on Facebook, it said that they could charge in 15 minutes or something. So somewhere they've got access to some DC charging.
Yeah, they're doing DC somewhere then.
Well, there might be a supercharger around the corner.
I did see a picture of one of them charging at a supercharger on one of the articles I saw, but I didn't get the impression it was at the police station, but maybe it's nearby.
Yeah.
They probably have access to fast DC charging that they can use during the day if they need it.
Right. So that was a pretty cool article.
Yes, excellent.
And speaking of charging, I don't know if anybody saw this. This is from Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And they have demonstrated a 270 kilowatt wireless charging capability on a Porsche Taycan. It was a collaboration project with Volkswagen, so they used the Taycan as their demonstration vehicle. But the thing I thought was interesting, because in the past, wireless charging was, it's existed for a while, but it usually wasn't that fast. Usually 20 current industry standards cover 20 kilowatt power levels. So it wasn't all that fast. And the efficiency, although this efficiency is not bad, 92% efficiency, but in some of the previous stuff, it was less than that, like down in the 80s. But somewhere down here, it said they were, there it is. The system can achieve a 50% increase in state of charge within 10 minutes at 95% efficiency, which that's pretty awesome for that level of fast charging on a wireless transfer. And they're using, it has a 4.75 inch gap between the ground and the coil mounted to the underside of the vehicle. So that's the distance they're covering with that much power.
Wow.
Hard to imagine it being that efficient.
It is hard to imagine that level of efficiency in a wireless transfer. And, of course, this is a lab type project. So, we don't know what would happen if you tried to commercialize and scale it up, but still pretty impressive.
For sure. Now, does it generate fields that can mess up electronics, like an iPhone that you might be having if you walk near it or anything?
Well, it's got to have some pretty significant magnetic fields going on.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's part of the testing that they're doing. And just the electronics in the car would be subject, to interference and problems from that too. So
You sit in your driver's seat and get an automatic MRI. I think that's a pretty good.
And it shows up on the front screen of the car.
A whole body MRI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's probably some things to work out, but still pretty impressive.
I bet you if you had an old mechanical wristwatch, it would melt it. All those little radio antennas in it, and it would just.
I saw things about this level of power is like even like we're like what if an animal runs under the car while it's charging? What if a can rolls under the car while it's charging? What kind of safety mechanisms, and when you're dealing with that much power being transferred.
Better hope it's an aluminum can that rolls under.
I know that certain industrial things like reduction of aluminum and making chlorine from salt, those electrical reduction items. You can't wear any kind of electronics anywhere near it; it'll fry them completely. And like driving past the plant up in Ravenswood back when they used to reduce aluminum, any wristwatch you wore would just be ruined. It would just pretty much be welded together.
Well, they got to be thinking about human safety, like pacemakers and people who wear that kind of stuff. I mean, they got to be considering all those use cases and issues.
Yeah, I bet you could fry an egg. Just take a steel pan out there and stick it next to it. You'd fry your egg.
All right. Well, that was an update on some wireless charging technology. I did see this too. The U.S. is talking about tariffs, 100% tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles. But it looks like BYD is planning to enter Canada. And I saw they were already planning to do some stuff in Mexico. So they're going to be north and south. It's only a matter of time. I mean, tariffs can only protect you for so long. You're going to have to be able to compete.
Even 100% tariff could still be cheaper than
if it's a $10,000 car and they can sell it for $20,000, I mean, it's still cheaper than pretty much everything else.
What does that do for cars like the Volvo that's owned by China now instead of, it's not a Swedish company, it's a Chinese company?
Well, I've seen questions about, there's been people questioning what is the impact to them and models that are substantially Chinese made and the parts are substantially Chinese. I don't think they've addressed what that impact will be on Volvo.
Well, I think you can Polestar away. Yeah.
Yeah. Polestar is probably toast in the U.S.
I've seen them. They're very pretty cars.
They are.
Polestars.
I know that if it's built in Chattanooga, you get your tax break. And if it's built in Europe and brought over, you don't get the tax break. So you have to know where that vehicle was built before you get the tax break, not just the name of it.
Right. It's gotten a lot more complicated, and every year it gets more complicated because those percentages of the origin of battery materials keeps ramping up. So a vehicle could qualify in December and then not qualify in January because those percentages have changed. But it'll be interesting to see how this continues to develop. BYD is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they already have factories in the United States because they build buses that have American content requirements. So I bet you they could build a factory in the U.S. and still to get around that.
And,
that's what the Japanese and the Koreans did. So, I mean, it's the next logical step for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read something the other day where they're careful to say electric cars, not electric vehicles, because, yes, they do have a truck impact in the United States right now. of heavy truck, not pickup.
Right, heavy trucks. And then speaking of China, all this, this is back in June, of course, but China, half of new car sales in China are now plug-in vehicles. So, I mean, they are serious about it. You cannot deny that.
So
Not
good.
over there. It's like it is here.
A good rule of thumb I heard, if you want to know what the effect is on the overall inventory of cars, in other words, how much gasoline is being diverted, just move the decimal place. So 50% of Chinese cars in a year are electric. Just move the decimal plate, and that says they've displaced 5% of their total inventory. Because most cars, even if they last more than 10 years, they don't get driven that much after they're 10 years old. So
I also saw a separate article. I can't find it again, but that China's auto manufacturing capability currently, they could produce the equivalent of every car bought in the world today. It's not just, it's just they have the manufacturing capacity to build every car sold today.
Wow.
it's pretty scary, isn't it?
Yes. And then moving into, I mean, they may not be coming to the U.S., but they're certainly coming. They're already in Europe, in Australia. Now they're in Mexico, coming to Canada. They're hitting emerging markets, South America, Brazil, Venezuela, the countries down there, Central America. So it's not like you can avoid them. We are going to have to compete on a global stage.
Yeah, we haven't heard much about the big three competing overseas. Used to have their divisions in Europe and elsewhere.
Well, actually, they're all in China, and they made big money in China until recently.
Yeah.
And even the Japanese were in China, and they've kind of gotten squashed by domestic manufacturing. And actually, I saw a note that BYD was just now starting to enter Japan. So now the Japanese players will have to compete with the Chinese players on their home turf.
We
so
may
definitely
be,
going to be interesting.
if we don't get busy and start adopting them, the rest of the world will be at, eventually in 5 years what Norway's already doing, and we won't have any place to sell when we finally get producing them. What a sad state of affairs.
So did you see we have a member that's in Norway right now, John Dupree?
John Dupree, yeah.
I don't think I know him, but
He's over here in Shepherdstown.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I asked him if he'd talked to anybody, and he said no.
I'm not sure we sold very many American cars in Norway anyway. Maybe some Fords and maybe GMs. I don't know.
Ton of Teslas. Tesla was the number one seller in Norway for several years.
Well, even in some of these markets like China, I mean, it generally wasn't like we were manufacturing and shipping the vehicles there. Our company stood up manufacturing plants or had partnerships with domestic manufacturers to turn out products. But the thing was, a lot of the profit of that, of like General Motors, came from other countries like China. So it may not be that they were exporting our product there, but a lot of their profit came from these other countries.
Yeah. I was going to bring up some. Do you have any more things to show, Robert?
That was the 4 articles I had. If you've got something, Scott. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
We had, what was it? I've got Susan here.
About a week and a half
ago, all the profiles on our Tesla driver profiles disappeared. It was like it was back to how we got it, and we had to then reset up the profiles. I did a little research, and people even checked with the virtual technician with Tesla or something. Said sorry, they didn't have a real explanation. I had to, all the default settings and everything is kind of, and we even tried a soft reset on the thumb wheels and then a hard one. with the high voltage. Didn't change anything. Fortunately, somehow though, it remembered all of the favorite internet radio stations that we listened to. So we're decided to keep those, but got rid of our driver profiles. And so we're slowly getting those reset. And
right now we have one.
yeah, we've got one right now, but it's just we've been busy and haven't taken the time to get the rest of them. Have any of you that have Teslas had that happen?
Can't say that I have.
Okay.
No, I only had that happen when I took my Tesla over to Marshall and let the 5-year-olds play with it.
Oh, you lost all your profiles?
Yeah, I couldn't drive the car out off the campus. I had to reset the profiles. Yeah, some little kid got up there and just deleted everything.
Okay. Well, we definitely didn't have a kid delete it. Somehow I had not put a update for a while, just hadn't gotten around to it. And I don't know if that had anything where they tried to force it. They did have a reference to where a corrupted update might have caused it. One person on the, I was on Tesla Motor Club, and I've got a couple other websites I was looking at that might have caused it and so forth. So anyway, I just passing that along for people's information.
So I had an issue last time I took my car in for to rotate the tires and check the alignment. My right rear wheel was out of alignment, and it was so much out of alignment that Firestone said they couldn't bring it back in. So I may have to take it to Tesla to get that fixed. I just wondered if anybody else is a wheel expert. One guy on the forum said that you have to take the aero shield off, which involves 20 plus bolts to be able to get to the rest of the adjustment.
No,
Nope, haven't run into that.
They've always been able to get my alignment okay.
Lots of West Virginia potholes, I guess.
Yeah.
Just a little update on what's going on with me. I'm buying that Model Y. I had the opportunity to transfer full self-driving to a Model Y. So, and I decided that Model Y suited me better than the Cybertruck, so I canceled my reservation for the Cybertruck. So I'm not going to get it. But I am the one advantage in transferring my full self-driving to the Model Y is that it has the hardware 4, where my old Tesla has the hardware 3. So hope to see some advantage in long term in that.
Well, the cameras are certainly better on hardware 4.
And you were talking about people's secondary cars being gas cars. We've got that situation where we only drive our minivan probably about 1,500 miles a year. So it's got to wear out, and then we'll get a second one like Marty and Marcia did, get a Model Y.
Well, I'm getting rid of a Kia. Actually, my grandson's going to be driving it, I guess, but
oh, that's nice.
I'm not going to have a gas vehicle.
Marty was aware of the 12-volt battery problems I was having. It popped up its head in Parkersburg. And fortunately, one of the guys had that top-down jumper, because I was in a bunch of EVs, couldn't jump from them. It started immediately, but when I brought it home, the next time I tried to start it, it was just dead. So unfortunately, Joe Holland, where I bought it, was hit by that cyber attack that wiped out their computers.
Oh, yeah.
Their service department was closed. The nearest department was Beckley, and I called them, and they never called back. And I called Chillicothe, Ohio, and they called. I said, when can I make an appointment? He said, bring it in tomorrow. We'll fit you in. So I drove up there. It was about a 2-hour drive, 102 miles. And they had it done in an hour, and I drove back home. And it was all under warranty. Dutch Miller here in Huntington is not even doing any warranty work on any of the EVs that they sell. So that's they're kind of in they're still anti-EV. But the people in Chillicothe were very nice.
I'd like to point out that our congresswoman from here in Charleston is married to the president of Dutch Miller.
I don't even know who the president is now.
It's Dutch's son. Dutch is dead.
Oh, the guy that ran for office?
No, his the guy that owns Dutch Miller, his wife is a congresswoman Miller for Huntington and Charleston.
Yeah.
Well, since we're all talking about problems, my EVSE decided to up and die this past week. So it's almost 7 years old. It's right at 7 years old, and it's a juice box 40 amp charger, and it's been great. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it. And then it charged the car, and it was fine. But when I went out to unplug the car, it was beeping, and it wouldn't do anything, and the lights were flashing on it. So then I had to look up what the beep codes were, and the beeps basically say an internal relay has failed. And then it said, it won't charge the car. I plugged back into the car just to see, and I get a big red warning on the Tesla that won't charge it. But I did some research, and there's a guy on eBay who's selling the relay that you need. It's on a circuit board. He's already got the wires, and I've seen that he sold like 600 of these things. So he's like getting a little printed circuit board, putting the relay on it, getting the correct wires and everything. So it's just a drop-in replacement, and you can fix it yourself. And he sold hundreds of them. So apparently it's a pretty common issue once these things get several years old. And when I went in and took mine apart and took out the little circuit board, and you can see it's kind of fried on the bottom side where the relay is. So apparently it decided to cook itself. But for $70, I can get a part and hopefully replace it. So I'm gonna try that first.
Wow,
beats $500 to $600.
Well, a new one. That's right.
Yeah.
I was this close to just ordering a Tesla wall connector, but then I thought, well, I don't know, $70. I'll see if I can fix it.
I was talking to Curtis Conley the other day. He has the F-150 Lightning, and Ford did something that you're all aware of. They, instead of having to swap out the whole battery if it goes bad, they test what bank of cells is bad and just replace those, so it can be replaced module by module. So his battery is doing something funny, and it's only less than a year old, and it was charging, but he was getting like half the range, and it took half the time to charge. So he took it in, and they tested, and they said, well, you have one module that's bad. And he said, well, I just need a new battery then. And, oh, no, we have to take it apart, and the labor for that can only be done by one person, so you're going to have to leave it with us for 2 weeks, and we'll give you a loaner, but not one that pulls a trailer, so that's not going to help you at all, because he has a lawn care business, and he just doesn't know what he's going to do, because he said it would take him 4 hours to swap the battery out, but in trying to make it so that you don't have to pay $10,000 for a new battery, but just $500 to fix the battery. He's caught in this netherworld of having to have, and it's under warranty, so it's not going to cost him, but it just was going to take him 2 weeks without the vehicle, and he was nonplussed.
Pros and cons. I mean, yeah, it might be beneficial if you're out of warranty, but yeah, while you're under warranty, it's kind of a pain.
The other thing I read that I would share with you is everybody, more and more cars have vehicle to load. You can plug something into the car and get it out. Well, one of the things that an AC, and all of them, but the AC ones, particularly EVSE, do is say you're grounded all the way back to the service entrance of the source of the electricity in my garage, because you're on rubber tires. So you can't be just chassis grounded. You've got to be neutral grounded in the rod in the ground. Well, this guy, the Ionic guy, said, I wanted to see if you could charge another EV from your EV. And he said with the vehicle to load adapter that Hyundai sells, which used to be $500, now it's $150 or $250, half the price, you could do it because it does accept a ground. But all of the other adapters that he used to pull the power out, he couldn't plug the EVS in. He says you're not grounded. So you're going to be able to ground with both of the cars being the ground, I guess. But this way, once there's a lot of EVs out there, if you run out of electricity, you just put something on a website, and in 5 minutes somebody comes by with their EV and gives you, an hour's worth of charge or something, or the AAA will do that. They'll just come and charge you up right away.
Yeah, I heard the AAA was doing that along the I-5 corridor, but that was it. You're much better off not running out of juice.
Speaking of vehicle to load and home, saw a group over, I think it was in Europe, but they were testing using the standard, communication protocols, and they basically were getting vehicle to load and vehicle to home out of a Tesla. I mean, Tesla doesn't advertise that that's supported, but apparently on the new vehicles that support CCS communication, which is all the vehicles since like 2019, they've got the communication protocols to do it. It's just Tesla doesn't advertise it. So this company built their hardware and used the hardware, and they were doing it on a Tesla. It was like just like a 2021 Model 3.
Right through the plug, huh?
Right through the plug.
Wow.
So apparently it will work. It's just you gotta talk to it in the right way.
So I saw that there's an outfit in New York City now that's selling bring your own wire charging stations.
Okay. Yeah.
That's compatible with the J3400 standard. So they're so all they have to do is mount a post out in front of your house if you park on the street, and you go plug in on it. And so it's there's no wires. There's nobody can steal wires. Just a metal post comes up, and it's got a locked socket, and you can open it and plug in.
Very nice.
So that's what's really needed. I think we could do away with all these cables draping around waiting for people to steal. Is you carry your own cable in your car.
What do you plug it into? You bring your own EVSE?
You bring your own. No, the EVSE's in that post. You just bring a wire.
The cable has got a plug on each end, so you can plug into the car and then you plug into the EVSE.
Tesla to Tesla or J to J?
Oh, it's J3400 to whatever.
Right. It's got its own. The plug that goes into the EVSE is different. It's not like a Tesla plug or a CCS plug or J plug.
Or three-prong plug.
Yeah, it's different.
I have to go buy a separate cable with
5 or 6 terminals. It does everything an EVSE is. The EVSE is in the post hidden away. You bring your own cable, and this happens all over Europe now. That's the most public chargers. You just bring your own cable.
And who keeps stealing that for the copper?
Well, the cable's locked in your car, and no one can see it.
Well, not when you're plugged in.
Not when you're plugged in, but then they get electrocuted. So, because that wire's hot and you can't turn it off.
And probably locks with the post.
Here, I think I got a picture of it here.
Yeah, carry on.
So there's you got there's a like Tesla type plug, but then this piece right here is it looks the same on all these. That's what plugs into the EVSE. So you could have a J plug on the end of it, or a Tesla plug on the end of it. But yeah, definitely solves the problem of cables laying on the ground, getting damaged and run over, and people stealing them and all that jazz.
I like the idea of the ones that came down from overhead with an app on your phone and just unwheel and plug in, and nobody can steal it. You unplug and send it back up when you're done, and send the bill.
Yep. All right. Well, we're right here at 8:00. Any other comments or questions?
I might bring up one small news item. It's not a big one, but you all know how Toyota is dragging their feet on electrification. But they're apparently offering an SUV called the BZ4X.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend that works over Toyota, and they've been building hybrid drivetrains over there, but he's getting one of these all electrics. He's been driving his diesel truck over there, spending like $250 a month. And when he gets this Toyota SUV, it's going to he'll be able to do the charging at Toyota. So he'll save all that diesel money.
And Marty and I saw one of those at Advantage Toyota, the BZ, the Toyota all-electric BEV. But it wasn't a good range or good power.
Yeah, they're just like 242 miles, something like that. But and I also saw that it's really made by, I think, Subaru, I believe.
Yeah. It's the same as another Subaru model.
The Solterra and the BZ4X are the same.
I charged last night in the garage to 90% and got up this morning at 302 miles of range at 90%. So that would be 330 if I went to 100.
Yeah.
You don't get that. It's just what it says. And then because you haven't been driving it for 12 hours, it says, well, gee, your average speed has been 0. So it's not a good number the minute you unplug.
Yeah, it's well, gee, guys, it's been great talking to everybody.
Yep.
Mark, thanks for coming.
Yeah, Mark, did you have any updates or anything going on your side?
Oh, well, something very minor. I experienced my first registration renewal, and I'd heard the group talk about the, I don't know, what was it, $200 cost on that, but I didn't really think about it until I got a little sticker shock there. So it's like, whoo.
Thank you, Governor Justice.
Yeah. Thank
Mark,
you.
Rest assured, the fuel savings, at least at my mileage per year, overwhelms the 200 tax.
Yeah.
So
if you drive I think we ran the numbers. I mean, if you drive basically it was like 12,000 miles a year, you save more in gas taxes than you spend for that fee. And we want to be able to say we are doing our part. When people say you drive an electric vehicle and you don't pay for all the roads, it's like we can say, oh yes, we do pay for the roads.
Yeah, I'm with you all. I gladly pay it, but it was a little bit of surprise when
it is. Especially the first time you get it.
Having two of them.
and I also tell people about I've had essentially no maintenance, just the cabin air filters to be replaced. So, beyond the tires and everything, but every car has that. So then they think, oh, maybe there is something to these EVs when I talk with people.
Well, at $100 an oil change now, yeah, and do it even 6,000 miles. That's twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. That's $300 just for oil changes.
Yep. All right, everybody. That's great. Thanks, everyone.
Send me the information on how you can draw. I know it won't work with my Model 3, but draw power from a Tesla.
Were you saying, Scott? Were you talking to me?
No. Who was presenting that you could later model Teslas you could actually draw power out the charge?
Oh, that wasn't me. I saw an article. I'll find it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great. Maybe include it with the. Is there a record? Yeah, there's a recording on this too.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.